Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a Fear the Walking Dead video for today, leading up to Fear the Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 13, This Land is Your Land. First question for this one is, we're going to give our updated thoughts, now that we're into the third season, whether or not we think Fear the Walking Dead will eventually be canceled. And spoiler warning, if you guys are not caught up for Fear the Walking Dead, which is up to Season 3, Episode 12. I'll keep them at a fair minimum, though, so I won't, ruin any major character deaths or anything like that, specifically in this video, in case people from Walking Dead want to watch and kind of weigh in on how they're thinking about Fear, whether or not they think Fear will get canceled. So I think it's a good question. It was one that I kind of wanted to do last week after Episode 11. Episode 12 was just such an amazing episode. It was so highly entertaining and just so many crazy things happening in the episode. Certainly, as a viewer, and I want to say this right away, I do not want to see Fear the Walking Dead be canceled. I don't. I love the show. I enjoy watching it so much. I love the original Walking Dead, of course. But Season 3 of Fear, you could definitely make a case, is maybe better than The Walking Dead Season 7. A lot of people have kind of brought that up. Season 3 of Fear, having some major character deaths at the beginning, some amazing storytelling throughout. Episode 12, which is just kind of like a regular run-of-the-mill type episode, an episode that literally could be a finale, and I would not be disappointed at all. That's how good it was. Just so many things happening, them really, ramping up the pacing, not slowing down at all, and if they can keep this type of pacing going, I would love to see Fear the Walking Dead for many more years. It has already been renewed for Season 4, so they're at least going to go ahead with Season 4. However, I will put the link in the description to the wiki from you guys, and a few people have asked about this, which is why I wanted to start with this one for the questions. And as you see it, as you go through it, so click the link and you can go through it with me, you guys. Season 1, it starts off at about 10 million, and it starts to kind of, dwindle down to around, just under 7, 6-ish by the end of the season. Comes back with around the same amount of viewers, Season 2, with around 6.6, and the season is at 3. So Season 2 really, lost over half its audience throughout that season. Season 3 came back with about the same, 3.11, but now at this point, Episode 11 of Season 3, the lowest rated in terms of U.S. viewers, of the series, with under 2 million. So finally going just under breaking that 2 million viewer mark. Now here's the thing, for a lot of shows, 3 or 4 million viewers would be just fine and they would be able to continue on permanently. With Fear, it's really hard to say because it's not a usual, normal type of show. They have to put a lot into it. There's a lot of, building of a huge ranch and having all the zombies, and it's not that easy to make as a normal series, I would think, in terms of the cost to do it, the operating costs and everything. And we do know that AMC is pretty careful when it comes to spending a lot of money and that kind of thing. But for Walking Dead stuff, clearly they put in, what they need to. For Fear, though, there's some very interesting signs here, I think, for this season. You look at Season 3, they bring us a huge character death near the beginning. I think just amazing storytelling, really fantastic season of the show. And even still, you're seeing the viewers continue to slide. You're seeing the viewers continue to drop, which kind of tells me, it kind of feels like they're not liking it. If you lose that, if we get down to the end of the season now and you are below 2, you're losing half again, then you go to Season 4, where is it going to be at in Season 4? Are you going to have even less? And if it gets under 1 million or 1.5 million, is it going to be worth it for them to get a Season 5 to continue doing the show? Really tricky for sure. And I mean, the thing is with me is Season 3 has been so good, and getting to see your guys' responses this week, I think was really mostly positive for Episode 12 because it was such an awesome episode and should have just been a regular one, which just was, blew everybody away with how awesome it really was. Really has me kind of confused with this one. As a viewer, as a fan, I really want to see the show continue, and I tend to think that they're producing quality. They're really going for it this season, and maybe it's just that the genre itself, Walking Dead itself, is not quite the zombie apocalypse, type of story. With Season 7, people just kind of got fizzled out a little bit in Walking Dead, kind of spill over into Fear. Fear, a lot of people not enjoying Fear, not wanting to go for Fear, losing half a season, so to speak, of where they're at, now to this point where it's pretty low. So I'm really hoping the series can go on further. I think, with how good Season 3 has been, if you're still losing viewers when you're producing episodes like this, geez, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, I don't know if it's going to work, because season 4 may not be as good as season 3 is. We're getting a new, creative team involved. Showrunner Dave Erickson's leaving. You got Scott Kimball coming over, who's going to help with executive production. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, I don't know if they can do any better than that. I mean, it's been such an amazing season, and yet if you look at the raw, U.S. viewers and the millions in numbers, you're not seeing that reflected basically at all in the viewership. You're seeing people dropping off, not people getting hot about the show and wanting to see it more. So it's definitely not a good trend line, and as good as season 3 has been, it still looks to me like this show is getting into the territory now where around, like, if it goes below 1.5 million, where AMC might start thinking, like, should we do a season 5 of the show? Should we continue Fear? Or should we just, wrap it up this season or something, or have it be the last season and then end the show? Because maybe you can only have the original Walking Dead with 16 episodes, and having another 16 of Fear doesn't quite do it. It's really hard to tell the details of how much that would do in terms of, advertiser revenue to have the commercials, get a couple million people to watch, and how much they have to put into the show. But certainly if they have to throttle back on budget, that's going to hurt it even more, and then you're going to lose even more people. So it's kind of going into a downward spiral, I want to say, season to season. When you look at Fear and you look at the raw ratings, it's just such a shame, because I feel like they've been doing such a great job and working so hard at it, and just have such a fast pacing that it would keep people glued naturally, is the way I'm seeing it right now. But the numbers don't represent that. They don't tell that story. They don't show that. So the data is the data. We got to go with what the data is showing, and right now it's looking like I'm not sure about Fear. So Halo God said, "Hey Trev, hope you're doing well. I have a Q&A for Fear. Since the ratings keep going down for Fear, could the show be canceled, or will AMC do something to try and bring in more fans of The Walking Dead?" And that's why I wanted to do this one, because I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, I think with Fear, they've already pretty much done the best they can do. Maybe their best chance was the first season, and it didn't quite hit people the way it needed to. Season 2 went on, and then it was like people just didn't buy the characters or something. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just that there's so much Walking Dead out there with the video games and everything else, the comics and the original series, of course, with extended episodes and everything like this, that maybe people just get burned out on. People just had enough of it. And that's what I think we're seeing. It's just very surprising to see that season 3 has actually continued the trend downwards, even though the episodes, I think, have been much improved over season 2, and really some amazing stuff, for sure. But weigh in on this one, guys, in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling about Fear. Are you one that you tried it, you're like, drop it, it's not good enough? Are you one that's seen every episode of season 3, and it's kind of like in my shoes where you're like, man, it's been so good. I'm surprised more people aren't checking it out, and it isn't adding viewers, it's actually losing them still, which is very, very strange. We'll do a couple more questions for today. Eglan says, do you think at this point Troy can be redeemed, Trev? He is such a fascinating character, and it would be a shame to lose him. But if he remains as a nihilistic sociopath, I don't see him staying alive for long. So that's from Eglan. And these questions will get into a little bit spoilery, because we got to discuss and speculate on the character. So for Troy is a very interesting character that I really like a lot this year. I'm hoping to see him survive the rest of the season and go into season 4. I just think he's so damn interesting and so much fun, having him as such a loose cannon, and the things he's doing just kind of being like so off the wall and crazy. So I'm hoping he does live, he does survive out the season. He is fascinating. He's a lot of fun to see in the show, I think, and he's quite a bit ahead of his time in terms of what his strategy is, the things he knows, the things he's learned, and the things he's doing already are very early for this time range in the zombie apocalypse. I mean, we're talking like in terms of time, I haven't done a timeline update recently, but it's very early in the original Walking Dead series at this point where the characters are at right now. So they're evolving faster in Fear, I want to say, than they even did in the original series. Troy is, at least. Troy is great, man. So at this point, can he be redeemed? I don't think he'll ever really be redeemed. I think he'll just be kind of, that's kind of how he is. So we'll see if they kill him off before the finale, especially after what he's done recently, because he's responsible for what's happening right now in Fear, right? Yeah, he is. Next one is Q&A, Trev. Are you ever going to do a character spotlight for Victor Strand? So I've been thinking about it. As far as the extra videos for Fear, doing character spotlights, doing top 5, top 10 favorite characters, that kind of stuff, it's not as much in demand for the channel as the original Walking Dead series is. Even if the Walking Dead original is not on, people would still rather see me do that than, other stuff like that for Fear. So even though I like to do videos like that, like I did, some of the characters for the original series, for Fear, I just don't know if it really makes sense for any, except for maybe your couple main, lead characters like Madison. Like Victor is one of the standout characters. I think he's a very interesting character because, well, spoiler warning here, but us finding out he's gay, because I just think that is something where, and he's so crafty and he's so sly. There's no character like him on the original Walking Dead, or even in the comics. There's not even a single character in the comics I can think of. You could say like Eugene, but not really. Eugene is not really like Victor. Eugene is like smart scientifically and lying and that. But Victor is like a con man, like a gay con man who, he's very tricky, very crafty, and I think he's very original. I think he's quite original, and I do like to see him quite a bit, just because, as we saw in even episode 11, he can be very crafty sometimes, and I really like the way him and Daniel play off each other. I think that is really funny. Their kind of banter back and forth, and how Daniel thinks of him, calls him like a snake, serpent, that kind of thing, and it's just really funny. So I do think Fear has some standout characters. Strand as well. Our main characters, I think, are memorable for sure, for me at least anyway at this point, getting more into the series. So FC Schaeffer says, this was an essential episode for Madison, Strand, and Daniel. That's for episode 11. We got to see what each one does best and how each one brings out the best and worst in each other. And, I do agree with that as well too. Strand, we got to see something really cool from him with the explosion there. Madison, she is crafty too, and she certainly is a different lead than Rick is. She's so different from him that I think that's that's got to be by design, that they thought, well, we got to have maybe a strong female lead in Fear, instead of like we don't want a Rick clone, right? We don't want someone who's just like Rick in Fear and they have their version of Rick. We want to have Madison where she's totally different from Rick, and I do think that's interesting to see kind of her journey in a zombie apocalypse, because it's not going to be the same kind of journey as Rick and the others. It's going to be this darker, and I like that. Maybe I guess a lot of people don't like the fact that they're kind of going on a different route, and they're not your kind of atypical hero kind of characters. They're willing to kill people and do stuff without a second thought, in terms of even just gaming people and doing stuff like this is interesting, I think, in kind of like a Breaking Bad Walter White sort of way. To see a protagonist, antagonist, like to see your lead be maybe not so clean, right? So that's interesting. And then Daniel too, yeah, he's a lot of fun for sure. And last one will be from BugaLuis, who says, "Am I the only one who likes Fear the Walking Dead more than the main series?" I have seen a few people. I've seen a few articles, Forbes, and that kind of stuff, where they like the fact that with Fear the Walking Dead, you're getting characters that seem more like real people, whereas with The Walking Dead, it's more like superheroes in a lot of ways. So that's one of the reasons a lot of people like Fear, and I like Fear. I like the things about Fear that makes it different. I like the things about Fear that do make it interesting and make it different from the original show, so it isn't just a clone. I just hope that it will last, a few more years, and it will continue onwards. But I wouldn't say, I definitely wouldn't say that I enjoy it more than the main series, but it's definitely one of my favorites on TV. And if they can keep doing seasons like season 3, if The Walking Dead keeps doing seasons like season 7 and everyone just complains about it all year, then I can't help but think that maybe at some point that could be the case, but I really doubt it, especially with the trend that Fear is on right now. I really doubt that it will outlast or have more seasons than the original series or something. It's not going to happen. But I really enjoy Fear as a secondary show that's different and original, and leaves you with a sense of no comfort, because you haven't got a comic book series to go by. You're seeing a group of characters that are not as good guy type clean as Rick and the others, and as they were at this kind of time, frame in the show. And yeah, man, I really enjoy Fear. So I hope it continues on. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's going to be canceled at this point? We'll probably update in a couple years. We'll maybe a year from now, season 4 or something, we'll talk about it again, because of course the future for Fear is not known either. We don't know how many seasons it could get. Could it get 5? Would it end there? Could it go to 7? Could we see it getting 7? I can't really see it right now, with how things are starting off and going at this point. But let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please don't forget, thumb it up below, guys. I appreciate it. You can share, you can favorite, and if you're new and you want to subscribe, you can do so at the bottom left. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.